Hey folks, today we're talking about 10 things that matter more than Midas preamps. I have nothing against Midas or their great products, but let me frame the argument a little bit here. We're all familiar with the X32 console, and yes, those are powered by Midas preamps, but of course, you can upgrade from the SD16 to maybe a DL16, and this is Midas's version of the stage box. And people love Midas preamps, and this seems what audio geeks want to talk about. They want to say like this will make my show better. Like, well, oh man, well this doesn't have the Midas pre's. Or like, oh, I was upgraded and now I do have the Midas preamps, and that's all well and good. But I think it's a classic case in missing the point because no artist I've ever mixed for or any corporate show I've ever done has ever gone home saying like, wow, those preamps just sound amazing. That's something that us audio folks want to care about, want to talk about. And I don't want to take anything away from our craft or the people who have taken time to make that product, but it's just a 0.05% part of the equation when it comes to the actual audio experience in the live environment. So today I want to talk through 10 things that do actually have a huge impact on who you are serving, whether that's someone in a band, a corporate client, or whatever. So this is 10 things that matter more than Midas preamps. Number one, the confidence instilled in your musicians you're serving by moving with generosity and speed. There is this caricature of the angry sound guy that's out there. And number one, it just only talks about sound guys, not sound girls. So that's a bad thing. And number two, that they're angry, that they are the guitar player who wishes they were in the band but weren't good enough. So they have to get this side gig running sound. They're slouchy, they're grouchy, they don't want to do anything for you. And that's honestly can be something helpful for you because it really doesn't take that much effort to stand out as a sound human, because that's what people expect for you to not be nice, not be accommodating. So if you're moving with generosity, striking up conversation with your musicians, if you're moving with speed and showing that you care, that goes and really goes the extra mile for those people you are serving in those contexts. So simply by moving quickly, asking questions and generously sharing. In my Pelican back here, I've got guitar picks, I've got guitar strings, I've got extra batteries, and I can't tell you how many shows of someone's playing acoustic guitar and the 9-volt goes out and their active preamp. Hey, here's a 9-volt. It means the world to them. It happened to both guitarists for an artist a couple weeks ago and had two 9-volts ready for him, and he was so thankful to have that. Or if someone lost a pick. Actually, that was the opener. Two 9-volts went out in the middle of the show. Had to give them 9-volt, 9-volt. And the next artist lost their guitar pick, was able to walk up the stage to give him a guitar pick. And that was a big deal. So moving generously and quickly, both of those artists are now in a good spot in their book. So gain structure. Number two. My word, it just seems like the hardest thing for people to get right. But one of the easiest indicators and that you can say yourself up for success. And so that is being able to have everything in the signal chain getting the adequate amount of levels. I don't care how much you're driving and getting dirt out of your Midas preamps if you are still running into the mic input on your speaker and blowing that out. So paying attention to gain structure is really going to go a long way, even if you have an X32, not as good preamp versus a Midas one. Number three, doing the math and carefully placing and aiming and optimizing your PA. So someone who's within coverage of your speaker versus out of coverage is a monumental difference than the amount of color you're going to get from a preamp. So actually knowing what speaker out of the speakers you have, what coverage shapes they have. Is it 90 by 90? What's the maximum SPL? Is this going to integrate well with my subs? Do I have more than 3 sources coming together at one point? That's not a good idea. What's the maximum amount of trim height I can get so I can lower my front to back distance ratio? So this type of language and being fluent with it is really going to help make sure your entire audience can have a great experience. I have a lot of calculations that can help you with this within my audio toolkit. It's called my Audio Math Survival Spreadsheet. I'll have a link here below, but it has over 30 different formulas and calculations that can help you with system design. And really investing in this skill set up my career and my game massively, because I was a pretty good mix engineer. I was pretty personable. I could get along as an A2. I was getting into RF, but I was really guessing as to where I could put my PA. I was like, hey, speakers can go about here, but really doing the math and figuring out and reading. This book was probably the biggest thing, the biggest investment I can make in my own career. And it was basically me walking through this book and putting all these calculations into a spreadsheet is how I was able to really make this reality. Okay, number 4, keep an immaculate stage like your mother's dining room. We all have, at least my mom was super particular about the house look. My wife's was even more. And when musicians are able to walk on stage and they see organization, they're going to feel more organized. Even if these starving artist folks, their bedrooms look like a wreck, treating your venue, even if it's not your own, like your living room, and being a good host of it is going to set the vibe, set the mood, set your professionalism up for success. Number 5, unmarked water bottles on stage for your talent. So a lot of times it's a good idea to have water. So keep a case of water in the back of your car, whether it's Ozarka, Dasani, whatever. Use your knife and cut off the label and hand them a clear water bottle. 2 reasons for this. It looks classier than having a bunch of labels on stage. And number 2, if you're doing a corporate conference, a lot of people are vendors or suppliers or work in their retail space, and when they see a brand, they might be thinking, well, like, oh wow, I'm with Coke and that's Dasani and they're drinking Ozarka right now, and they get their wheels spinning. So just having a clear water bottle sends the message of like, oh, they're just drinking water. This is all that implies. So I think that's really helpful to have water. Keep it in your car. Ask if the venue even has ice, and you can give that to your audience. Number 6, knowing audio fundamentals, your show's IO and stage layout, and your talent's names so well that you can spend 80% of your energy blowing their minds instead of tracing unlabeled cables. I worked with the band a few weeks ago, Carver Commodore. They're from Alabama, and they were killer. And they actually sent me one of the best tech writers I've ever seen. And one of the guitar players works in production. It was beautiful. And what I loved, it just didn't say lead vocalist, drums, the guitar. It had their names. And that was really helpful to know as I was making my console file and preparing for them and setting up their monitor mixes, that I could call them by name. So when they showed up, I couldn't quite know their faces and know what they played. But as they picked up their instruments, I was able to say, hey, Peyton, hey, Philip, hey, Noah, and talk to them directly. So people really respond differently when they're called by their names versus their title. Because how many times, if you're a male, you've been mixing and someone said, hey, sound guy, and that's not the most endearing way to refer to somebody. So hey, guitar player doesn't feel that great either. So knowing their names and knowing your stage layout, that's so just on a back burner in the back of your brain, that's going to work really well for you. So if you can put that to work for you, is really helpful to earn street credit with that band. So you're not having to spend a lot of public facing energy on like, oh, I'm having to trace and figure things out. You can spend it building that relationship with the band. Number 7, showing up 10 minutes early and getting familiar with the venue, especially if it's a new place, is a great thing to do. Venues also change from time to time. And so I think being able to be a little bit early and have your game plan ready. So you see a common theme through these first 7. It's really about earning trust with who you're working with by being professional, thinking ahead of time, being clean, being immaculate, all goes a long way. Number 8, having your monitor mixes roughed in before talent and sound check. So you can do this by going to your monitors. Let's say if you got drums, 2 guitars, and a lead vocal, you can have all of them roughed in and really in a great spot. If you simply put whoever's monitor it is, put themselves at unity, put whatever instrument they're going to be listening most to at maybe neg 5, and then everything else at neg 10 or neg 15. So it's a simple 3-tiered structure, separated by 5 dB that can help make sure that they can hear themselves. And that way, when you gain stuff up and you have your gain structure and your monitor set right, it's not, okay, let me gain stuff up in line check and then who wants what. They can already hear themselves like that the minute they are going. So I think being able to have that done ahead of time is super helpful. It'll take you 2 minutes and you can instantly shave off a ton of time during sound check. Number 9, choosing an appropriate walk-in playlist. When someone walks into the room, it's not only the sense of space that's going to set the vibe, but the music is going to set the tone. So being able to know what, if you're running sound for a square dance, definitely choose some Merle Haggard before you set up. It's not great to have him playing Drake there. And so pay attention to the vibe, set the mood. If there isn't a DJ, you by proxy as the audio tech are the DJ. So make sure and pay attention to that. Lastly, offering to multitrack the performance and give the stems to the band. All it takes is a USB cable in your computer. You often have these, and you can get a free multi-tracking software like Tracks Live. And if you're working on a digital desk, plug in the USB cable, route the appropriate inputs to the USB card, and record it. And just throw it up on Dropbox, and away you go. Send them a link. And I think a lot of bands are trying to use any sort of content they can to be regular and shipped to their audience. So having multi-tracks, or even just your board mix, your left, right, like, hey, here's tonight's recording. This would be helpful to you. I guarantee it's going to sound better than someone's iPhone at the back of the room. So any sort of asset you can give to the band as they're doing it is really helpful. Okay, so there's all 10. So let's summarize and themeize a little bit here. Be clean, be on top of it, do the math with your PA, know your audio fundamentals, show up early, roughen your beforehand, make sure you have a great playlist, pay attention to gain structure, learn your musicians' names, multi-track the performance if you can. I think this does a whole lot to start building a career and thinking of yourself as the asset you can offer, rather than relying upon gear like Midas preamps to give you the power, because there's so much that's within your power as a tech versus just letting the gear do that for you. Because at the end of the day, it's only you and your A2 that cares about it. It is not going to make that big of a difference. So go forth, make great audio, and thanks for watching. My name is Michael Curtis. You can pick up my Audio Math Survival spreadsheet, an invaluable tool I've made after reading this giant book, at the link below. It is my Audio Math Survival spreadsheet. It's got 30 different calculations. I think it'd be really helpful for you. I will see you on the next one.